So this Scorpio New Moon, I am titling Implementing the Strategic Vision. And I am seeing that this new moon is all about setting the intention that's going to go forward, not just 6 months ahead, which is typical of a new moon, but actually for the second half of this decade. And I'm going to explain why. So, just to start, let's talk about Scorpio in essence. So, Scorpio, according to my definition, which I use vibrational astrology, and I'm using their study guide. The definition of Scorpio is the ability to fuse or merge with life, others' activity. Scorpio becomes fully engaged and immersed in an activity in life, and the individual discovers themselves in this fusion, which brings a sense of expansion of individualism. So basically, the power of Scorpio is one, its ability to completely merge, completely fuse to that which it cares about, it's passionate about, and in doing so, in that full commitment, fully feeling, fully experiencing that which it's most interested in, it experiences an expansion of their sense of self. And this is actually even the definition of the flow state by that famous guy with the long name. I think his name is like Saheli something something. The book is called Flow, but in his definition there of flow, it's basically that where you're so immersed in whatever activity you're doing that you actually forget about yourself in the moment. You're just completely focused on improving and making those micro growths in the moment, that when you are done with your activity, you actually feel better. You actually experience serotonin release. And it's almost paradoxical, but by being fully fused with something else, you come out feeling better about yourself, feeling that you have deepened something with yourself because you merged with this skill set or this practice that you were doing. So that is the essence of Scorpio. And so with the moon and the sun, that's kind of where our attention and even our moods and habits are at this moment. And something that I ran across as I was making this analysis, this preview card for myself, was this quote by Chase Hughes, and he is a psychology expert, a behavioral trainer. And his quote is, "The world doesn't respect what it has easy access to." And I found that to be very poignant here, especially in regards to Scorpio and this idea of Scorpio being very selective about what it chooses to merge with, because Scorpio gets this generalized reputation of being maybe mean or sharp cutting. And it can seem like Scorpio is unfeeling or maybe too deeply feeling about what it does care about. But the truth is that Scorpio is fully committed to that which is the most meaningful to itself. And it doesn't make itself available to everything. And that's also why Scorpio is such a respected sign, is because when Scorpio commits to something, it fully commits and it says no to everything else. And that also has a lot to do with our sense of value and also the way in which we respect other people and also ourselves. And so this energy at this time, um, I believe is also about this deepening of respect, that when you choose to fuse and fully commit to something, you are choosing to have more respect for yourself because you are committing to something. And frankly, when you commit to something, you say no to other things, and other people realize, oh, I can't just have access how I like, then people actually do feel more respect. And of course, you feel more respect because you're being attuned with your attention, and also you're entering that flow state. So you're actually deepening something about your individuality. Okay, that's just generally speaking. I just want to address that as some of the vibes, some of the pieces of the building blocks here. All right, so if we look at the actual sun and moon transits, which are going to define what this new moon feels like, what we notice is that the sun and moon are conjuncting Mercury, as we see over here. Mercury is right next to them over there. And the other thing that we'll notice is that there's a trine with Jupiter, trine with Saturn, trine with Neptune, and it is making this really big, beautiful triangle. And this is called a grand trine. And in this case, because each corner is involved with a water sign, a planet in a water sign, it is a grand water trine. And so with water, what is water? Well, water holds memory. Water is fluid. Water is emotional. So water has a lot of power and strength in terms of what we're feeling and also in terms of imagination. So that is a critical thing here. The next thing that I want to note is that there are 5 planets that are in retrograde right now, including Mercury. So Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. So let's look at that chart again. Okay, so here, got the moon and the sun, and boom, Mercury is retrograde. Okay, that's one corner of the trine. Let's look over here. Okay, Saturn is retrograde, Neptune is retrograde, other corner of the trine. Oh, over here, the last corner of the trine, Jupiter is also in retrograde. So this whole cradle, this whole trine is in retrograde, and that is not insignificant. And then the other important factor here is Uranus, and Uranus is also in retrograde. So generally speaking, retrogrades represent a time of reflection. It can also be a kind of standstill moment in which maybe things aren't moving as fast as we would like, or we might have things from the past come back into our purview. And it can be an opportunity to choose whether or not we want to re-engage with that or to change it. We might have also experienced some major realizations or changes during these retrograde moments that carry forward. And so what I want to note here is let's just look at the dates of these retrogrades. When did they begin? When are they going to end? Let's talk about this. All right, so for Mercury, Mercury went retrograde November 9th, and it's going to end November 29th. Cancer went retrograde November 11th. It will end its retrograde March 11th. Saturn has been retrograde since July 13th of 2025, and it's going to end its retrograde November 28th. Uranus has been retrograde since September 6th. It will stop being retrograde February 4th. Pisces has been retrograde from July 4th. It will end being retrograde December 10th. So some of these planets have been retrograde since the summertime to the fall time, and some of them are not going to stop being retrograde until February or even March. So this is like a kind of perfect standstill moment where all of these signs, excuse me, all these planets are interacting with each other in a way where they're forming a trine because, the sun and the moon are always moving. Mercury is a faster moving planet. So these aren't going to be here. This kind of grand trine shape isn't going to last for that long. So there's something significant here about this kind of cradle of reflective water memory energy that is being created right now. And the fact that Mercury is conjunct the moon and the sun just shows us that our attention, even our moods, our memories, our habits right now are very focused on the ideas that are coming up for us. So Mercury is all about the mental, but it's also about kind of all the vehicles that move us from one place to another. So that can be technology, that can be cars. Our thoughts are vehicles that move us from one destination to another. It's all about connection. And so our attention is definitely toward connecting deep ideas. And I'm going to get into that more. So the last thing I want to note here with talking about the retrograde planets is that some of these planets are going to have a massive sign change that will be lasting for a while. So first of all, let's just go down the list. Like I know Mercury will change signs. I'm not sure when. Like I said, it's a faster moving planet. So within, I think, a week or so, it should move into Sagittarius a week after this retrograde period. Um, Cancer or Jupiter is currently in Cancer. It will leave Cancer in the summer. So on June 30th, it will start into Leo. Saturn is going to go into Aries on February 15th, and it will stay there for about 2.5 years. Uranus has been retrograde into Taurus. So Uranus had in the summertime gone into Gemini, and then it in this retrograde period has gone back into Taurus, but this is kind of like its last time in Taurus before going into Gemini. And Uranus is a slower moving planet, so it will be in Gemini until 2032. So that's up until the next decade. You know, we're currently 2025, almost 2026, so that's going to be about the next 5-6 years of this time. And what is Uranus? Uranus is all about tuning to the waves of the moment. And the waves of the moment are so imperative to how we live because, you know, at its essence, that's part of Taoism, but, you know, it's the winds of change. And the only thing that we can be certain of with the future is that things will change. And so Uranus is directly responsible for those winds of change, the waves and the rhythms of change that occur, and about operating in the moment to those changes. So Uranus is significant in terms of almost creating a new vibe for the next 6 years. All right, down here to Neptune. Neptune has been retrograde from this summer, and Neptune will go into Aries January 27th until March 23rd, 2039. So that's a 14-year cycle, and that will definitely be a defining undertone or overtone of our coming decade. And so, you know, things that you can reflect on with Neptune being in Pisces for the last 14 years is elements of Neptune is all about dreams and even illusions, fantasy. And so I think with Neptune being in Pisces, we did actually see a huge rise in terms of like New Ageism, spirituality, but also we saw a huge rise in terms of the ways in which we experience the illusion. So we saw the rise of AI, we saw the rise of TikTok, short form content. You know, our perceptions of things aren't necessarily we're not sure what is real or not real. Things are quite malleable in that way. And Pisces' job is to connect seemingly unrelated things together. And we've seen really a mishmash of kind of almost like crazy events all coming together and weaving together. And you can relate that to the political sphere, socioeconomic sphere. We've had some really crazy events that have occurred in the last 14 years that have definitely changed our perception of what's real or not. And so what's interesting is that Neptune is going to go into Aries, and Aries is all about authenticity. And so we're going to feel that shift of the dream of going into more authenticity. Okay, so just to make the point really clear here, what this new moon represents, and the fact that all these corners of the trine, and even this leg over here with Uranus, this opposition, they're all retrograde. And some of these planets, these major planets, slow moving planets, they are in their last go around of the sign they've been in previously for years before they go into the new sign. So they're on the cusp of a new turning point that is going to define the next half decade to decade plus. Really, I should just say decade. And that's really significant. And so what I see here is this, like I said, this cradle. It's like holding this moment. And, I would say that since Mercury has been retrograde for November and we're seeing this kind of perfect retrograde trine right here, we're really being asked at this time to reflect on, hey, not just this Mercury retrograde season of November, but also um, the past couple of months, and even if you go bigger into the past decade, what have you noticed that has changed? What have you noticed that our culture and society has switched its attention on? What have you personally experienced in terms of your self-development? And I would say that when Neptune and Saturn were briefly in Aries, I believe it was, gosh, it might have been in March or so. I can't remember off the top of my head. We were experiencing something new. And also, Uranus was in Gemini. So we came into contact with some of the energy that we're going to be experiencing going forward. And so really the opportunity here with the new moon is really doing that self-assessment of like, hey, what is at its essence the most important thing to me? What at its essence do I want to merge with? Because um we're about to turn a new leaf and go to into a new decade energetically. And Scorpio's absolute power here is to choose what is it that I want to commit to and merge with. And so the other half of this, the deepening of this, and where I would connect Saturn and Neptune and Jupiter is that we're actually at this, what this trine really is about is you having focus on your big dream, your big goal, because this coming decade can actualize it for you. This is actually potent energy for you to actualize it. And the way that astrology works is that, this is a list of possibilities. What I'm saying right here, my interpretation, this is a list of possibilities of things that could happen. And the reason I choose to do new moon and full moon readings is because I enjoy aligning to energy in order to both experience more truth in myself, in my reality, and then also to use the power of intention and attention to direct my life in the direction that brings me the most joy, the most happiness, the most freedom. And at its essence, that's really what this practice is. There are some people who they interpret the chart of the week. They're like, here's what to look for the week ahead, and in that case, I think of it like a weather report, and that's useful. But I think the other half of this is you're learning about what are the possibilities coming up ahead. And if you look at any kind of like news cast, just generally speaking, the news, things look bad, right? On the surface, it's like, oh, this is going wrong and recession here and these things, right? So if you only attune to those things, the things that you're going to project to the future, it's like negative. But if you're going to attune to the energy and use the energy as actually a way to think about what's possible, what's in your realm of possibilities for the future, you actually relate to it differently and you start to feel hopeful. And that's like half the battle. That's like half the battle of steering the ship and catching the winds of fortune is just being aware of energetically what is going on. And energetically, what is going on is putting your awareness and being receptive to ideas that have to do with the honest, sincere, and long-lasting ideals and visions that you have. So Saturn and Neptune conjunct is very powerful. So it's all about uncovering what life is really about. And Saturn is all about getting to the essence of things, stripping away superficiality. Neptune is all about the dream. And as humans, having a dream is very essential to our quality of life. Having a goal, having an ambition is very essential to our quality of life. And so this conjunction here simply says, hey, at its essence, what is my sincere goal? What is my sincere fundamental vision for my life? And Scorpio, the sun and moon here, they're like, yes, what is that? I really want to completely merge with it. I want to completely commit to it. And then what you'll also notice here is that this is actually even what we're valuing right now with Venus being in Scorpio. We're valuing that which is special to us and is meaningful to us. And then Lilith being here as well, I think that is an interesting addition. You know, it's in conjunction with the sun and the moon. I think that's an interesting addition here in that Lilith traditionally is about being rejected for something socially, being ostracized in some way, but then kind of growing through it and realizing that that hardship gave you a skill set and it becoming a source of your power. And so I would say that this, wherever you might be getting ideas, or maybe your goal brings up any kind of feelings of doubt or shame or fear, anything like this that has to do with a social repercussion, as part of the challenge here too, or part of the gift, is that um, it's okay to confront that. And it's even part of the purpose right now is it's okay if it's unconventional. It's okay if other people reject you for it. The point is you're so committed to it. Merging with it is so meaningful to you. It's so essential to this dream. It's so truthful and sincere that it becomes a place of power for you. And then here with Jupiter being exalted in Cancer, I mean, come on, that's what dreams are made of. If you couldn't get a more supportive planet, like this is really it. And so Jupiter being the third leg here is basically just saying, hey, let's really be optimistic about this. Let's take this. There is the possibility that this can happen, and I will support you in it. I will expand the visions that you get with it. I will expand the information that you get with it. So let's go and look at Mercury just one more time. So Mercury and Jupiter trining means that it is open-minded. It sees that bigger picture. It can see the expansive pattern. So again, like I said, it's reflective, this period with all these retrograde planets. Like, what is the bigger picture that you're seeing for yourself? Okay, and I'm talking about the next 10 years. You know that typical job interview question? I don't know if people actually ask that question anymore, but saying, hey, where do you see yourself in 5 years, in 10 years? Okay, I want you to actually ask yourself that right now because this is what the energy is promoting. Mercury is also trining Saturn. And so we're actually more analytical. Okay, so we're able to look at things for what they are. So this is a really good time to do a like checks and balances of, yeah, what is it that is truly meaningful to me? What is it that my dreams are really about? And here, Mercury and Neptune, seeing the magic and wonder in life. So if you can apply both an analytical mindset and have the ability to see the magic and wonder in life, that's actually it's very powerful. And I would say it's a good strategy. And then the final element here, which makes this really fun, is Mercury sextiling Pluto. And it's that you are connecting ideas obsessively or compulsively. And so here Pluto is at the side. We have another trine over here. It's not a grand trine, but basically Pluto's addition here is that we're not just, okay, thinking about our dream, we're actually obsessed with it. We have sextile here, sextile with Mercury. So we're getting ideas about what that dream could be. we're getting ideas about, what is it that I've experienced in the last 6 months, even in the last month, that was exceptional to me? What is it that I experienced that gave me a big sense of freedom, big sense of seeing something that was sincerely, fundamentally important to me and to my life. And I want to incorporate that, or I want my life to live in this way, be in this way. That is important to notice and to write your intention around. So and then Pluto is also important here because Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio. So it just gives a little more importance to, hey, if you are really feeling compelled by something, or you find you keep going back to these thoughts of some kind of dream you have, hey, this is your sign to commit to it. This is your sign to commit to it, even if it's just baby steps once a week or whatever. But you moving in that direction and you merging with that is where you're going to find your sense of individualism and satisfaction. And if you don't go in that direction, you actually might find you feel dysfunctional. Um, you might feel distraught, and it might make this next decade feel incongruent. So the next thing that I want to point to is Uranus here. And Uranus is all the way down here, opposing the sun and the moon. And what I think is really interesting about this dynamic is that with this shape here and then this opposition, to me, it looks like a bow pulling back an arrow. So here it is pulling it back. It's almost like the new moon is like pulling it back and it's shooting it directly into Uranus. And like I said, Uranus is all about the waves of change. And so it's using this new moon, and it's using your intention for the next 6 months, to that next Scorpio full moon, to the coming decade with these big planet changes. You are drawing your arrow back and you are shooting into the winds of change, and you are putting forth your intention to merge and commit to your dream fully, your dream of truth, of sincerity, of optimism, and that which completely compels you and almost you obsess over is the most meaningful to you. Here, the moon and Uranus represent a need to feel unrestricted by expectations and consequences, and the sun and Uranus attune to the waves and cycles of the moment to express them in present spontaneity. So part of what we are shooting forward with this new moon is we're shooting forward this desire to feel unrestricted and also to attune to the waves of change, attune to the natural spontaneity that exists, because the truth is life is contrast. We have moments of highs and moments of lows, and that contrast is what definitely shapes our perception of things, but it can also um, be a kind of dance, attuning to it. And that's the whole concept of Taoism, is bending to the wind, flowing, moving with it. And here it is, I'm saying flow, acknowledging Uranus. And what is it that I define Scorpio as? Oh, at its essence, Scorpio is connecting to your flow state, because you want to merge with that which is the most meaningful to you and expands your sense of individuality. So this is all about engaging with the flow state. So you can only do that if you're, one, willing to show up fully to that thing that you care about, and two, you're going to enjoy it the most if you do something that is just the most interesting thing to you, is the most meaningful and sincere dream to you. And so the intention that I would set here, and this is really the power of this new moon, is the intention that we set here is for the coming 6 months and to the greater decade beyond, I intend to merge and fully commit to my vision and follow the waves of rhythm that naturally unfold to take me there, while staying aligned to my authenticity and integrity throughout it all. I intend to be strategic, consistent, and persistent. I intend to enjoy the unfolding process as it allows me to more deeply expand and experience a deeper, more profound sense of freedom. And I intend to feel unrestricted by expectations. I intend to be clear and present to the waves and cycles of spontaneity. I set the intention. Oh, I've got a typo. I set the intention to attune to the waves and cycles. Oh, I already said that. Um, yeah, so those are the intention. That's kind of the nature of the intention to set at this time. And really, this is more broadly speaking because I don't see your personal chart. So what I would recommend is, pull up your chart and see where is the new moon? What house is it in? What house is Uranus in? Because those are going to be interrelated with where, kind of like what area of your life do you set intention for? And it's probably very relevant at this time. Um, that it's something that you want to improve or that you want to see development in, and use that. If you can get more specificity with that will really make your intention even more powerful. And if you would like to have help with that, you can book a reading with me where I can look at your transit chart and we can talk about that together. Just let me know if you're interested. And of course, there's so many possibilities of things that can happen. But again, the power of this is that we set an intention here and we kind of work with the powers of energy and the moon to allow our attention into something that's meaningful and see where it can take us. And so you don't have to like think about all these things every day, but just by putting some focus here, writing down the intention, and then letting it sit and just seeing, hey, how do I come back to this goal? Being open to things that relate to your intention. By the time the full moon in Scorpio happens in May, it would be an excellent time to look at this previous intention and see just where things lined up. All right, so that's what I have for you guys today. I am wishing you well, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.